Tommy! First unit we will cover is Halloween Charlotte, and she's something that Spy would pay for. Her first slot is a 6-star physical slot, and because she doesn't have a true weapon, I recommend normal Arch Gen equip when doing long form content, so something like True Izanagi or some other Arch Gen true weapon you have access to, as that's about the only accessible physical Arch Gen equip as of right now, other than Kancho and Bakia, but that's not very good on her. In short content though, or for the sake of speed in general, I'd actually recommend a bleed equip, as like Long, her bleed takes forever to apply, given her bleed is exclusive to her true arts. So something like Chloe's Eye Service or the new Charlotte's Gull Claw are good here. Her second slot is another 5-star physical equip. I'd recommend the same Arch Gen or bleed equip here. Her third slots are a 4-star defense, and at Limit Break 7, a 4-star heal. 4-star defense is really mediocre in general, but you could fit something for whatever stage you're doing. As for Limit Break 7, the 4-star heal is solid, but I wouldn't recommend it on a DPS unit like her. Now onto her skill. Her skill deals 2200% fire physical damage and increases her arts by 30, and if the skill crits, 60 instead, on a 10-second CT. This skill is identical to Uzu's skill, which in fact is really good for self APS, as it is faster than Uzu CT if Uzu hasn't popped his normal arts yet. Her arts deals 23,000% fire physical damage, and for 35 seconds it increases her crit damage by 150%. A long duration for a solid self-damage boost is appreciated. 35 seconds is the same time Uzu's normal arts does, except his is 130% damage and skill CT recovery. Her true arts deals 70,000% fire physical damage and has a 100% chance to bleed with a maximum of 3 stacks being applied. Again, bleed on true arts is really expensive and really annoying to get fully ramped up, hence why I would recommend running a bleed equip on her. Her super arts deals 185,000% fire physical damage, and for 20 seconds it reduces enemies' physical resistance by 100%, and for each stack of bleed, she reduces by an extra 50%, up to 150% given that's the maximum amount of bleed stacks applicable. So 185,000% is a really high multiplier, and if you're running a bleed equip, getting this to max stacks should be no problem. So getting a 250% physical reduction is actually much easier. Combining this with her normal arts lets her deal massive amounts of damage. You might be wondering why I'm comparing her with Uzu so much, and that's because Charlotte is supposed to be a DPS, and currently Uzu is the best DPS in the game, so it makes it fair to compare her to his usage. Her first ability increases her own crit rate by 100% against enemies with 1 stack or more of bleed. Good for DPS, 1 stack is really easy to get, crit rate is always nice. Her second ability increases her own accuracy by 100% against enemies with 3 stacks of bleed. A niche passive, but getting 3 stacks of bleed is still recommended for her super arts. Insane amounts of physical resistance reduction. Her third ability increases her own freeze resistance by 80%. Why 80%? We may never know. She could be frozen with that 20%. Well, that about summarizes her kit, as she lacks a true weapon. Overall, Halloween Charlotte competes for best DPS potential with Uzu and Goddess Celia, but due to her lacking super crit, she kinda falls off compared to them in solo DPS. But even then, she can be a massive physical damage support / sub DPS, providing an insane amount of physical resistance down. Her banner consists of 3 Halloween units, Charlotte, Valorant, and Forte, and which we'll cover the other 2 in the next video soon. I would throw her in somewhere like A+ or S tier, as that's where Goddess Celia and Uzu sit. As for crest recommendations, I recommend Art Gauge up, Equip CT Recovery, Magic Circuit, Attack Up, and Skill CT Recovery. As for her teams, I'd probably run her on Mono Fire, given Summer Iris is on Global now. If you don't have access to Mono Fire, that's fine too, as she doesn't have any bonuses when put with fire units in general to begin with. So running her with units like Hoga, Wargoth Fan, or even like your new Fate units you probably got, are all really good. Well, this about summarizes our guide on Halloween Charlotte. If you get her on banner, and you lack a really good DPS, you're in good hands. Also, don't forget seasonal characters don't rerun often and only run like once a year. So I'd recommend doing your guaranteed and discounted ALK summons. Look forward to our Valorant guide next.